Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to another reading lesson. We are going to continue our non-fiction reading all about our orphaned Siberian tiger. We know that this tiger is actually a cub, which means a baby tiger. So let's go on to the text and begin reading. Okay, so today we are going to do a paired reading activity. We had an example of this yesterday where I read through sections of the text, but you are also going to take some ownership of the reading as well. So it's really important you're paying attention and reading along with me. When I ask you to pause, that means it's your turn to read. So let's start. Siberian tiger. An orphaned cub gets a storybook ending. An orphan, we know from yesterday, is a child, in this instance an animal with no parents, so no mother or father, and a cub is a baby animal, so our cub here is actually a baby tiger. So I'm going to start. Biting gusts of wind pummel a Siberian tiger cub as she pads through a snowy forest in eastern Russia. Wind pummeling, pummel is a verb which means to strike something repeatedly. So here it's suggesting actually that the wind is hitting this baby cub. It's quite powerful, cold weather conditions in eastern Russia, which is what the description is suggesting. It's been days since the baby's mother left their den to hunt for food. Now searching for her mum in the woods, the cub has become so cold her fluffy tail has gone completely numb. Without help, the exhausted animal won't make it. Too tired to go on, the cub drops to the ground and her body sinks into the freezing snow. Warming up. Two men hiking through the forest notice an orange lump poking out of the snowy terrain. As they approach, they realize it's an infant tiger. The men expect the cub to leap up and run away, but she lies completely still, barely breathing. Knowing the animal is in big trouble, the men wrap her up in a blanket. They rush her to a home of a local wildlife official who's alarmed at the tiger's appearance. The cub is extremely thin and her tail is frostbitten, a condition that occurs when skin tissues freezes. The official carries the tiger to his outdoor sauna, a heated relaxation room. I don't know if anyone has actually visited a sauna. If you go to a spa, for example, or a gym, there's usually a sauna and it's a relaxation room which is really hot and it allows your muscles to feel quite calm, your whole body actually, and gently places her inside. He feeds the animal warm milk, raw eggs and meat. He then phones the Wildlife Conservation Society, which runs a nearby centre. Biologist Del McQuell, who works at the organisation, arrives at the official's house to examine the cub. He estimates that she's about 4 months old. Estimates, we know that in maths it has the same meaning. It's where you give a rough guess here. So he's looked at her and he's given a rough guess that she's about 4 months old. Wild tiger mums care for their young until they are 1.5 years old, Dale says. So this baby's mother was probably killed by a poacher. He also believes the cub was found just in time. She wouldn't have survived another day on her own, he says. Now I'd like you to read from after consulting right till the end of Cinderella. So pause the video here and continue reading, please. Fantastic, Year 6. I've heard some really fluent readers here, making sure we're not reading through punctuation and actually picking up punctuation whilst we read as well. That's what makes us confident whilst we read aloud, so well done. My turn. Hunting school. Zolushka is put in a 2.5-acre fence enclosure. The fences are covered with sheets, so the tigress can't see the people looking after them. This will stop her from getting attached to humans. Getting attached means almost being used to them, always seeing the same person, so almost feeling like that's her parents. So again, feeling used to these people that she sees every day. So that's why they cover the fences with sheets, Dale says. In order to sharpen the tiger's hunting skills, her keepers release live hares into the enclosure. Then they watch her from an observation tower. Even without her mother to teach her, Zolushka has the instincts to hunt for food, Dale says. After the tiger becomes comfortable snaring hares, snaring to snare, it means to actually catch prey in this context. Harder to hunt animals such as wild boar are let loose into the enclosure. She soon becomes skilled at capturing all kinds of prey. The tiger seems to enjoy romping around her new home. It's great to see her progress, Dale says. And I think we could all agree she definitely has progressed in her appearance, in how she's actually hunting and finding prey, because at the beginning she was an exhausted, a very tired animal. So maybe think to yourself, do you think Zolushka was able to find and hunt for prey in eastern Russia, where it was very cold and she was in a weak condition? I just want you to have a quick think. You're right if you said no. She definitely would not have been able to go and hunt for prey at that time in eastern Russia, because she was in a very weak condition, very numb. When your fingers are numb, and you might have experienced this when it's really cold, you usually find it difficult to even pick up a pen or write because your fingers are iced from the cold situation. So that's probably how Zolushka was feeling beforehand. But now, after having some intervention from the Wildlife Conservation Society and Dell, she's in a much better state. And we can read this here in Happily Ever After. The following spring, 18-month Zolushka weighs more than 91 kilograms, as heavy as 3 10-year-old children, and she can hunt like a wild tiger. I'd like you now to read from It's Time right until the end, please. So pause the video here and continue reading. Fantastic, year 6. So we've got some little information in these circles here, so I'm just going to read them for you. Adult male tigers can weigh as much as 10-year-old kids, and I know you found that out from reading this section here. A tiger's growl can be heard from over 3 kilometers away, so very, very loud growl that we can hear from very far away as well. Let's see if there's any other facts to read here. So actually we've got 3 here. Only around 500 Siberian tigers exist in the world. So that's actually a very, very small proportion of Siberian tigers. And we know from yesterday, finding out a little bit more information about Siberian tigers, they are all different. All their stripes are actually different. So you can never find 2 of the same looking Siberian tigers. Tiger teeth can be 10 centimeters long, and a tiger quadruples, which means 4 times the size, in the first month after its birth. So again, it's a very large animal after its birth. Okay, so now well done for reading through the text with me. We're going to now answer some questions, but firstly, I'm going to begin with modeling my questions to you. So let's have a look at what my questions are. So I've got 2 questions. My first one is asking me to look at the sections hunting school. I need to find and copy the phrase that suggests Zolushka is shielded with sheets. And then lastly, for number 2, I've got why and a why question. So I already know that's going to start with because. Why is a makeshift space made for Zolushka? We already know makeshift means a temporary space. So I'm now going to go into the text and show you how I'm going to answer these questions. So please make sure you're watching along with me and listening to my thought process whilst I answer these questions. So let's switch over to the visualizer now. So you can see my presentation here. I've written Wednesday the 3rd of March 2021, reading. I've written down my 2 questions. You don't have to write your questions. I've just done this so I don't have to switch through my PowerPoint and the visualizer. So my first question is look at the sections hunting school. So I'm just going to turn over to that section here first so I know what to read. Hunting school, and you can see that's here. Find and copy the phrase. I'm just going to underline phrase. You should be using a ruler. I don't have one at hand, that's why I'm not. Phrase that Zolushka is shielded with sheets. So shielded means almost covered. That is a synonym for shielded. It means to be covered. Now, so I need to look at hunting school. So I'm in this section here and I need to look for a synonym that suggests Zolushka is covered with sheets. Okay, so let's have a look. Zolushka is put into a 2.5-acre fenced enclosure. The fences are covered with sheets so the tigers can't see the people looking after them. I think I found the section here. The fences are covered with sheets so the tigers can't see people looking at them. The phrase tells me, find and copy the phrase that suggests that Zolushka is shielded with sheets. So the phrase I'm going to copy in here is, I'm just going to write number 1 and I'm going to write the fences are covered with sheets. Now that suggests here that Zolushka is shielded with sheets. Shielded, we know it's a synonym for covered, so that's number 1. Number 2, Why, so I know this is starting with because, why is a makeshift, which means a temporary space made for Zalushka? So let's have a look in the text why Zalushka has a makeshift place. So I remember it's in this section here, warming up. So I'm just going to read from down here, looking for the word makeshift to help me find the answer. I can see here, so the team of vets visits the tiger's makeshift enclosure, tranquilizes the animal and performs an operation to remove the injured part of her tail. Tranquilizes means to make someone feel at peace, so a makeshift space is made for Zalushka so that she can have her operation. That is what it suggests. So because I'm going to say peaceful place is needed to enable Zalushka to have her operation. So I'm just going to read it back to see if that does make sense. Because a peaceful place is needed to enable Zalushka to have her operation. So she needs to be made to feel that she's in a calm environment to allow her to feel at ease when she's having her operation. So you've seen my presentation. You should just have questions 1 to 2 for yours. You don't need to write down the questions. I've just done this so I don't need to switch through. So now you're going to move on to answering your questions. Now that you've seen me have a go, it's time for you to have a go at your questions. So your first one here, so you're writing number 1, just like I showed you in my book, how I've written it down. I'd like you now to write down number 1. I know I haven't put the number next to this question, so you must be paying attention. This first one is number 1, and you're going to look at the introduction. You're going to find and copy the phrase that tells us the tiger can no longer feel anything in her tail. So remember, it's find and copy the phrase that tells us the tiger can no longer feel anything in her tail. So I'd like you just to write your answer down for number 1. I've snipped the section where you can look for the phrase so you don't have to go into the text to make it easier for you. So please write down your answer for that one. Okay, I'm actually not going to reveal the answer to you right now, and we're going to do it at the end, towards the end of the video, so it's just easy for us to have all answers in one go instead of doing it bit by bit. So please make sure you are watching along for your next question now, which is number 2. So you're going to find and copy the phrase that tells us Zalushka was close to death when she was found. So again, find and copy the phrase that tells us Zalushka was close to death when she is found. And that is number 2. So pause the video here, and this is the section you're looking at, warming up. So this section here, which will help you find the phrase. Please make sure you're looking carefully for the phrase and not the word. Fantastic. I'm going to move on to number 3. If you can't keep up with my pace, that's absolutely fine. Just pause the video and come back to the video once you're ready to go on to number 3. So this is number 3 here, which is find and copy the phrase. So you're still looking at the section warming up. Find and copy the phrase which tells us David did not make the decision to keep Zalushka at the Wildlife Conservation Centre alone. So he had some form of help here. So pause the video. You're again looking at warming up, this section here, looking at the phrase which tells us David did not make the decision to keep Zalushka at the Wildlife Conservation Centre alone. So pause the video here and write your answer, please. Now going to move on to number 4. So again, just pause the video if you haven't finished this question. So number 4, you're looking at this section hunting school, which I have actually snipped for you here, and you're finding and copying the phrase again that suggests Zalushka is now a competent, which means a very good predator. So it almost suggests that she's quite a confident person as well. A competent, so she's good at looking for her prey. So I'd like you to write down the phrase that suggests that she is a competent predator. So remember, you have both these sections to look through as they're both part of hunting school. Fantastic. If you found it, just write it down, and I'm going to move on to the next one. Number 5, you're going to look at the sections happily ever after, and here you are going to look for the word now that suggests that Zalushka was put to sleep before she was transported to the nature reserve. So have a look in the text for the word that will tell us she was put to sleep. Fantastic. I'm now going to move on to the next one, which actually gives us the answer. So if you haven't quite finished here, just pause the video and write down your last response, and I'm going to reveal the answers just for our find and copy section. So questions 1 to 5, I'm going to say the answers for you. So number 1, you're finding copying the phrase that tells us the tiger can no longer feel anything in her tail, and that is her fluffy tail has gone completely numb. The word numb suggests that, you know, from the frostbite, she can't move it, she can't feel it because it is numb. Number 2, the phrase that suggests that she was Zalushka was close to death is she lies completely still, barely breathing, again suggesting that she was close to dying. Number 3, find and copy the phrase which tells us David did not make the decision to keep Zalushka at the Wildlife Conservation Centre alone. And that is after consulting with a team of local vets. This means after talking to them about her conditions, and David spoke to them with a team of local vets about her conditions. So he didn't just think about the decision alone. He spoke to and consulted with local vets. Okay, number 4, the phrase that suggests Zalushka is now competent, which means a very good, almost confident predator. So again, that phrase is she soon becomes skilled at capturing all kinds of prey. And then lastly, for number 5, the word that suggests Zalushka was put to sleep before she was transported to the nature reserve is sedate. To sedate someone means you put them to sleep. So, for example, before someone has an operation, they are sedated, which means they are put to sleep. So given an injection, put to sleep, and then the operation is performed on them, and that is what happened with Zalushka. But this time, actually, they sedated her before they transported her to the nature reserve, and that is so she could just have a peaceful journey and wasn't alarmed after she woke up in a new location. So if you got 1 to 5 correct, well done. If you haven't, please just go in and make your corrections, as I've written down all the answers here for you, and I've done this right at the end of find and copy. That way you can see all the answers instead of just going through them one by one. So you've got a final set of questions now. So the video is not finished here, so you have a final set of questions to answer now. So you have questions 6 to 9, so you just have 4 questions to answer. The first one is, what impressions do you get of Dell? You need to circle 2 impressions here. Number 7, why does the heading refer to Zalushka as an orphaned cub? So think about what I said at the beginning of the text before we started reading. Number 8, compare Zalushka's condition from when she was found to her release. And then number 9, why does staff sedate Zalushka before transporting her back to a protected nature reserve? So please just write your answers for these questions. Again, use the text, have it open in a separate tab. This way you can answer the questions from the text. We know how important that is. So please make sure you're using the text to answer the questions. So pause the video here and I will reveal the answers to you at the end. Okay, so I'm now going to reveal the answers to you. So the first one, the impression, we need to circle 2, and I've actually only circled 1, which means I haven't read the question carefully. So what impressions do you get of Dell? The first one that I circled was knowledgeable, and I know this because as soon as he spotted Zalushka, he was able to tell that she was not in a good condition, she was not found in a good state, and that is where he decided they need to do something about it. Let's find now my thinking process for another one, because I've only circled 1 here. Inexperienced. I definitely don't think Dell is inexperienced because he was able to spot that she was not in a good condition. So I definitely think inexperience here would not work. Inattentive. To be inattentive, it means you're not paying attention to someone or something. So in this circumstance, Dell was definitely not inattentive because he actually did something about it. He didn't just ignore Zalushka, he actually went over and spotted that she was not in a good state. So definitely inattentive would not be an impression I have of Dell. I definitely think the last one would be responsible. So the two you have to circle here is knowledgeable, because he was able to spot what was wrong with her, able to suggest how old she was, and responsible because he did bring her to the wildlife nature conservation society to help her as well. So those two impressions, that is what I have of Dale. Number 2, why does the heading refer to Zolushka as an orphaned cub? Remember what I said earlier, orphaned means to have no parents. So as I've said in the answer here, an orphan refers to a child whose parents are dead. Zolushka is referred to an orphaned cub as she has no parents, and that is suggested in the text. Orphan cubs are usually left with their mothers until they are about 1.5 years old. However, Zolushka was found alone, so we don't know where her parents are, so that is why she's referred to as an orphaned cub. Number 3, compare Zolushka's condition from when she was found to her release. So I've said when she was found, she was in a weak condition. Her appearance and her weight suggested that she was very weak. Her weight was only 16 kilograms, and it also suggested that she was close to death. However, the Wildlife Conservation Centre has helped to regain her strength, and she was released as a healthy tiger weighing more than 91 kilograms. You can also speak about something about her independence. She gained her independence as well towards the end as she was released and now being able to hunt for prey. So she was, snaring prey in the text. That is what it was suggesting. So she was a confident predator as well. And then for number 4, why does staff sedate Zolushka before transporting her to a protected nature reserve? We know that sedate means to put her to sleep, and that is so she's transported safely and does not feel anxious about anxious that she is traveling to a new location, because obviously she's been at the Wildlife Conservation Centre for a while, where she's been taken care of, and then almost being moved to a new location would be quite scary and daunting for her, and that is definitely why she's put to sleep, so she's feeling relaxed about the change that's going to happen for her. Obviously it's a good change for her, so I think we're all feeling very happy for her. So well done for getting through right to the end of the video and marking through your work. It's really important that you mark through your work and make those corrections if you haven't done so already. The section of the text that I would like you to read from today is, you are going to read this section here, and it's easy for you to just read from the screen. So you're going to read warming up. So please make sure, you read the section warming up and submit that on Seesaw. It's really important you're practicing your reading aloud just like you would be doing in school. So just reading this section here, so starting from 2 men right until Cinderella. Record yourself either reading it or send a voice note in on Seesaw, and your teachers are very much looking forward to listening to your fluent reading aloud. So well done for getting through today's video, and I will see you tomorrow for our next reading lesson.